So like for me, blending my intuition and creativity, I think what people really see of me on the outside and like how my brain works, like extremely logical, mathematical. If it doesn't make sense, you need to have a really good case to back it up because I don't get it, you know? And the way that I've blended those two things, and people have described it in me, like our students have been like, it's blending the masculine and the feminine. And for a while, I was like ashamed of that. And I was like, I should be this like girly. But then I realized that so many creators were craving this.
Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Awakened Entrepreneur Show. I am Juan Galan, your host, and I'm back with another guest interview. I'm super excited about this one because I'm going to be bringing my business coach and mentor to the show. We connected in 2023, actually 2022, when I applied to Vanessa Lau's mastermind. She was one of her students, and I saw her profile and I automatically connected with her vibe, with her energy, with her content. I started following her and I became her client at the end of 2024. And I've been her client in her business coaching program for a year and a half. So I'm honored that she can come to my show now. I was a guest on her podcast last year. So it's like a full circle moment. So Giulia, welcome to the show. I'm so grateful that you're here today.
Thank you so much, Juan. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. As I was telling people, we connected over Vanessa Lau's mastermind back in 2023. So I would love for you to tell us, what was your business like back then? You've evolved a lot and I really admire that about you. But take us back to 2023.
So when I was creating content in 2023, it's always been really focused on who I am in that moment. And I think this is what makes the most valuable content is when you can truly speak from your life experiences. And I've never been the kind of person that is like, I have these specific pillars and I only write or like make videos about these certain things. It's always been about what's actually happening in my life and creating content around that. So at that period of my life, I was kind of just getting out of the spiritual niche. So I was originally creating content about mindset and manifestation. In the beginning of 2023, I would have truly labeled myself as a mindset and manifestation coach. And then I kind of went through some big life changes, like my now fiance and I moved in together, but we moved in together across the world in Bali. So we moved to Bali, we moved in together. I kind of like got out of this, like I was living in New York City at the time, like living in New York City with roommates and going out and like kind of having a content creator business and like being this like New York City influencer to really becoming like truly a company owner. And that's like what I wanted. So I feel like 2023 was the beginning of that evolution where I knew in my heart and in my soul that I wanted to build something bigger than myself, but I knew it was going to take time. So like all of 2023 was a big transition year, but it was also the year I made my first $1 million. We closed the year at 986K. And the year before that, you know, me alone, I did 200K. So it was just a really crazy year, if I'm being honest, like looking back to have that much growth in 1 year. You know, I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, like to actually make a leap from 200K a year to $1 million a year.
That's massive.
Is insane. And that year I lived in 4 different countries. I was traveling. I got an apartment in Miami at the end of that year. Like it was just such a hectic year, but I never felt like really like stressed or like, oh, there's like too many things going on. I really like leaned in and I feel like I truly was like living my highest, most fullest self.
Well, I want to ask you, what drew you to mindset and manifestation in the first place? Because that was the one thing that really attracted me to your content and to you as a person. Because at that time, I was also starting my spiritual journey. And I want to say something as I find really funny is that I kind of went from like Instagram marketing coach to now like more a spiritual coach, whereas you did the other way around. But yeah, tell me, what drew you to that space to begin with?
Yeah. So in 2019, I was working a summer internship before I was a business owner. I was a financial advisor. So, like, I was working a summer internship at a bulge bracket bank. And it
Mm,
was like, I was the only person in my whole university that got an internship with this company, like a very well known, like, everybody would want this kind of company on their resume. And I felt so trapped. And I was like, oh my
yeah.
God, is this going to be the rest of my life? But I
Mm,
didn't really have the confidence or really like the spiritual knowing that I wanted something, but still was playing by like the rules. Like, oh, I have to work at this job or this internship. And like, I'm the only one in my whole university that got it. And like, I'm a 3.8 GPA student. And like, I had all these amazing credentials, but I felt so trapped on the inside. Now, the good thing was at that internship, the guy that I was working next to introduced the book The Secret to me, and he let me
mm,
borrow it and read it, and I read it that summer. And that's when I started to like really understand manifestation. And it's funny because during the internship I was so like locked in, if you will. I was so focused on like being the best intern and getting the job after college that like I just pushed his book aside when he gave it to me. That towards the end of the summer, I actually read it and then I went out and got it myself. And I started actually putting into practice because I had more space in my life. I had more
right.
space to actually like lean in and learn. And from that moment, I learned about the power of manifestation. And, I have these pinch me moments pretty often, but I feel like recently, like I had some personal stuff come up last week. And it was just like a moment of like, wow, like I really changed my life. And I took the steps necessary so that I don't live that way anymore. And I think that's something that I'm actually now really proud of. Whereas, like in the past, I would be ashamed. Like, I would be like, why
Mm,
me? Or, like, why can't this person in my family do this or this person do that? Like, I don't know. Like, I felt like some type of way. And then I also feel like when you're just starting out or like you're growing something, you kind of get those like side comments from people in your personal life that are like, oh, you work on the weekends? Or like, oh,
mm,
you post that online? Don't so and so follow you? And it's kind of this like beginner mentality, but that shit sometimes like still gets to me. So
yeah.
like when I had this moment last week, I was just like, wow, I'm actually really proud of this life that I've created. And I'm actually really proud that I did it differently.
Something that you mentioned that I want to point out, I was talking to a client yesterday, and the things that your close friends or your family members can tell you can really, really affect you also at a subconscious level. She has her brother-in-law who read like threw the tarot cards to her and told her that she wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur and that she
Mhm.
was basically not going to succeed, even though she was succeeding. And then after a couple of months, she started struggling in her business, and now like that's her
Mm.
identity. So it's really good that you learn how to really block these things from even from the closest people to you. So I'm glad that you share that because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people struggle with those things as well. And I also wanted to ask you, so you started doing mindset and manifestation coaching. What triggered that pivot to business coaching for creators? What was the one thing that was like, okay, I'm going to change this all? Because you were seeing a
Mhm.
lot of success as a manifestation coach, right?
Yeah. So originally, when I first started, I was just like, how can I make money? Like, I just need to figure
Mm,
out like how I can get out of my job, how can I make money, and how can I do it in a way that feels like authentic and aligned? Because one thing about me is like I will not function if I'm not aligned to something. Like I
one,
can't just like push through.
same here,
But
same here.
yeah, but like, I'm a very like hard worker. So like
You
when it
are.
is aligned, I'll be the best in the room at it? So basically what I started to realize was that while I was coaching people through mindset and manifestation, I realized that there was a second layer that you have to really like take action and you have to really like do something beyond that. And I felt
Mm,
like a lot of people were coming to me for like money manifestation, finances, because that was like closest to my story. Like I was in debt.
right.
I started my business after I saved up money and I want to keep making money. And I've just like truly, like, I was also thinking about this last week. I truly am like a natural born entrepreneur. Like I just know that I'm made for this. When I like wake up in the morning back then and even to still today, like all I think about is like business. Like I am obsessed with business. And I think for a while, like I needed to originally just build my credibility, right? Like I need to actually have a business if I want to coach people on business. So I never really labeled myself as a business coach because I was building my business. So, I get this question a lot from students like, I want to be this kind of thing, but I haven't achieved that yet. So, like, what I
Mm,
basically tell them is like, you can only coach people on things that you've achieved, right? So,
totally.
like, when I first started mindset and manifestation, I learned that skill and then I created courses around that skill. And then the next layer of it was now I stacked on another skill, and that other skill became how to sell online courses, how to create content that converts into leads and buyers. And then that's when the next evolution came, which is like how to make 10K a month as a content creator. Like it was just a very simple, like launch a course, sell it on Instagram, find a niche. And then
Mm,
2024, it really like blew up with Instagram growth specifically because I stopped posting on TikTok. I went all in on Instagram. I dropped the ball on my podcast. I'm like always half in, half out with YouTube. So I was like, I really like Instagram is like my thing. I used to be a social media manager. So I just now niche down even further. So now it's like
mm.
Instagram growth for business owners, but it's not just growth, it's actually like lead generation and conversion. So like the past year has been really all about like how to basically like turn your Instagram account into a money-making machine. Because I'm a really good direct response marketer. And now, like, that's actually where I want to further refine my skills is in direct response marketing. So now it's kind of more even evolving beyond just like create a course because I've never really like looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I help people build courses. Like it's a part of it. But what I'm
Mm.
really good at is direct response marketing and like actually like building a company. And it's kind of interesting because now, right, like I was saying, I stack that skill through my manifestation coaching business. I keep stacking skills. So now I can continue to offer more things. And I know before this podcast, you're like, I love tangents. I'm like, oh shit, I've been talking a while on this tangent. But the final thing I want to say there is like, there was definitely a season in my business recently where I was so like in the business, over functioning that I kind of lost a little bit of like, I still need to add on to my own skills. And this is like a constant battle that I've had from really like 1 million lifetime revenue to 3 million. So I'm always going to be clear if I mean a year, if I mean revenue, if I mean cash.
Right.
So like when I hit a million lifetime, it was like, wow, I just like brute forced my way to a million. Like you don't really need to have anything figured out. You can just fucking like pedal to the metal and make it. Like figure out the
Yeah.
how to later. From 1 million to 3 million, you kind of got to like start figuring some things out because you can do more, but you actually have to be a little bit better because that's when
Mm,
shit starts to break. And then like 3 million to 10 million is just like a whole different ball game because what starts to happen is like you actually need to learn how to work through other people, whether that's
yeah.
team members, it's systems, it's group selling instead of one-on-one selling. Like there's just so many additional skills. So like I kind of got out of this like fog and I've spoke about this very transparently in my content where like prior to maybe like 3 months ago, the year before that, so like mid 2024 until like, maybe start of Q3 this year, I was like in this fog of just being so like on this hamster wheel that I lost a little bit of like, I need to still grow my skills and like be better and like get that to the next level. And now that I've kind of cleared that fog, I feel back in that like passion and joy and like building era.
Yeah. And I feel that's something that every entrepreneur goes through as well. Like maybe falling into the hamster wheel and feeling like they're stuck at a certain level. Something that I love that you always teach us is more, better, new. And
Mhm.
I guess that most people get stuck at the first phase, which is just more and more and more and more instead of doing better and then jumping on to new. So this is super interesting.
Mhm.
I also, now that we're talking about this phase that you were going through, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you throughout your journey, what has been like the lowest point where you felt, like shit, I'm gonna just quit. I can't do this anymore.
Actually had these moments more recently than I'd ever had them before. Like
Interesting.
It actually is now that I reflect on it, like real time with you, because when I was like first starting, like I'm a numbers person. Someone recently asked me, I was working with a somatic therapist and she's like, "What was your favorite subject?" And I'm like, "Math," because everything makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Like that's just how my brain works. So, and like we don't need to go into the depths of my trauma and like why I think like that, but there's definitely like reasoning behind it. So like to
Always.
go to like 1 million, it was like just me. Like it was just me like working really hard. And I would say
Mm.
like honestly like a million even like a year because like we've done a million a year last year, the year before. It's like consistent like that's, kind of like our baseline. And I think the lowest moment for me was realizing that if I want to scale this company beyond that, like beyond a million a year, let's even go just to the next threshold of like 3 to 5 million a year. It's going to take me learning how to be a
Mm.
leader. And that really revealed itself to me this year that this is no longer just like Julia's lifestyle business because to be honest, that's just like a lot easier. Because if I let anybody down, I'm only letting myself down, right? If I don't hit
Right.
my sales goal, all right, it's like a me thing, you know? And
Mm.
like honestly, and I say this very openly, pre like Q4 of 2024, let's say like August, everything before, like the business was really just there to like fuel my life, make money, buy a house. Like it was very like self-interested. And I
Mm.
say this very openly. And then as of that moment, I actually had this moment of like complacency of I could keep doing this and I could pretty much do it myself and run like a 1 to maybe $1.5 million a year business, could hire a few VAs. It's like really a simple lifestyle business.
And
But
that's
I
okay
got
too, right? For the
absolutely,
people that want it that way. And you've said this multiple times in
absolutely.
calls with your students. It's like you can do
Yes.
that. You can take that route. And then the other route is building an online education company, which is exactly what you're doing.
I love that you pointed this out because yes. And the reason for me why I felt so complacent was because I realized that I wanted more, but it was going to require new. And
Mm.
one of my mentors always tells me people love change, but they hate transition. So I knew that to continue, or rather to go to the next level, I now had to go into untapped territory. So I
Yeah.
cruised for like 2 years with my lifestyle business. Like it was fucking amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, like traveling and oh my God, like, profiting $100,000 a month is not a
That's
bad place to
amazing.
be. It's
No.
amazing. And I think what I realized was like, wow, that is so amazing, but I really like want the next thing. And I didn't realize like what that was actually going to require from me. So I feel like in like September of last year, jumped into like a big black hole and I was like, I got no idea what I'm going into, but for some reason, like I just want it. Like I want to
Mm.
grow this company because I also realized about myself, like I enjoy the journey much more than I enjoy the result. And that's why I felt like that was just no longer serving me to it just be a lifestyle business. But I also believe that I needed 2 years of that to actually know that I want the next thing. Like, yeah, that's kind of like my conclusion. And I think this is why, like we were talking about earlier, like knowing what you want in business is so
Yeah.
important because anytime you feel stuck or something's not clicking, it's usually because you're not being really honest about what you want.
Mm. Yeah. And it must be not complicated, but complex in a way in terms of identity shifting. Because, and I'm sure that for most of your clients, including myself, this is the case because we all start as content creators, right?
Mhm.
Then we become coaches. And you talk about this in
Yeah.
your
My graph. Oh, I love that you're bringing
graph,
this up.
right? Then we become coaches. Then the next level is becoming a CEO, right? And then now you mentioned like, and now it's the next one is like a leader, and all of these different stages require a different identity. And as you said, like shifting identity is uncomfortable. I mean, it's necessary for growth, but it's uncomfortable. So I love that you brought this up, and something that I love about you, and that like it's really what's kept me working with you for a year and a half is that for a long time, like I wasn't sure where I was heading, and I was like, oh, maybe I just want to have like this lifestyle business and make like a few grand that I can. Because to be honest, And especially, I've spent most of my life living in Europe, and
Mm,
making $10,000 a month in Europe is like a high level CEO salary, right? So I was like, if I make $10,000 a month, I can just live my life and
yeah,
enjoy and travel. But then seeing you scale your company with so much drive and determination, and, also seeing you go through struggles and sharing those with us, I'm like, I want to go through that as well. I also want to have like an
yeah,
online education company. Like, you inspire me to
yeah.
want to think or dream bigger. So
Thank you.
just wanted to share that with you, because I'm sure that, again, most of your clients appreciate that from you.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
I would love to know, like, in all of these shifts that you've had, especially the last one,
Mhm.
how do you handle self doubt? Because this is something that we
Mm.
all experience, and yeah, I would love to hear your stance on this.
Yeah, so I think your community is so important, whether that's like paying for coaches, the people you spend your time with. Like for me, Marcos, my fiance, is really like my anchor. So, like,
Mm,
whenever I doubt myself, like, he'll just like overwhelmingly almost like share testimonials with me. Like, you think you can't do this? You built a $3 million business. Or like,
hmm,
let's go on your Instagram and just start going through your highlights and actually like showing me logical proof that that's incorrect information, right? Okay, Julia, pull up your bank account right now. Like we were like joking about our bank accounts yesterday, like sitting on the couch, like, okay, being like, no, like we fucking do that.
mm,
So, one, it's like the people in your corner. And then two, like you need coaching on it. So, like one of the most
yeah.
recent things I did with my coach when I don't know if I would label it as self doubt, but I was going through a big identity shift and like major, like breaking through the next glass ceiling. And yeah, I'm just like on a Zoom call, like bawling my eyes out. I record them all and then I feed them to Chat GBT and I'm like, tell me my blind spots, like I do all that. And I just said to him, like, what the fuck do I do? Like, this is so painful because I can't just like solve it like a math equation. Like, what do I do? And he was like, you need to mourn your old identity. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, like when someone dies, you mourn them, right? Your old version of you, Julia, the lifestyle creator, is dead. And like,
Yeah.
I literally had this like journaling session, meditation of like that chapter served me, but it's not serving me to the next level. And it's like, I almost went through this like rewiring. And then, I booked some calls with this somatic coach and we just unlocked so much. But it all
Mm,
started with like first, like mourning that that's actually no longer me. Because what happens is it's so much harder to be in between, right? It's like you're either going to
yeah.
track your macros or you're not. You're not going to like just track it one day and then the next day binge and blah, blah, blah. It's like just pick one because it's a lot easier, right? Same thing with when you're doing any sort of identity or self concept work. It's like either be all in or just don't and just, more go with the flow. And that's really like worked for me. So I was like, I'm all in on this new identity. So I got to like kill the old one.
Think I've experienced something similar lately, and more around like spiritual growth in quantum physics terms. Whenever you're about to quantum leap, right, you kind of have to retract, and then you have
Mm,
to, as you said, mourn your old identity. And in spirituality, this would mean like
mhm,
facing all of these shadows, and to kind of like prove to yourself that you're ready to step into the next level. So I've
mhm.
also experienced something like that recently. And I feel like I'm also quantum leaping right now. It's just a matter of time to actually see it happen. Would you say that this has been like the most pivotal mindset breakthrough that you've had?
I think that this has been a pretty big breakthrough because like you can't just do more. Like you
Mm,
literally need to change something about the way you think. And for me, when I like broke through this last glass ceiling, it's been all around like my identity, not just about like go do more work. Like you get to a point where you can't put in more reps because you're like operating on the incorrect frequency.
totally, totally. You've just had your most successful month to date, right?
Yes.
How do you feel about that? And how do you carry yourself now through this new identity? Because what I've experienced is in the past is that when I hit like a new milestone, there's something in me that is afraid of losing
Mm,
that. So, how are you carrying yourself through this new phase or this new identity with this new milestone?
I love that. Yes, last month we had our biggest revenue month that we've ever had. And the way that I carry myself through this new phase or this new identity is very much centered around like, I just proved to myself that I can do it. So let me
Hmm.
go do it again. Because
Yeah.
there's a difference between doing something one time and doing it consistently. So now that I've done it one time, I've actually like touched it. Like I've actually
Mm,
seen it and I'm like, this is possible. And now for the next layer is like, how do I do this now consistently? And I've always
yeah.
found that that's easier because you've already been in the untapped territory. But another big part of this is like this highest revenue month that we had didn't come from more. It actually came from new. And one mistake that I had that like I feel like I grew from and learned a lot was that I had to like drop my ego a little bit
Mm,
to hit this goal because what happened was the way the business was operating before, we weren't really set up to get to that next level. And it wasn't like a, am I capable? Because deep down I know that I am. I just had to make some like deep changes, but I feel like my ego really stood in the way of that. And I feel like I couldn't make those changes because what if but is we're not operating on the old way anymore. You know, it's like
mm.
new. So I think for me it was just really centered around like I have to drop the ego and I have to be okay like taking a step backwards to go a step forwards. And I feel like once I really like let that be, I was able to hit the next level.
Totally, totally. And speaking of ego, I would love to know Instagram, it's a blessing, like the fact that we can build businesses with a
Mhm.
free platform, but then seeing other people that seem to be more successful than us, that have doing more revenue than us, how do you handle that? I mean, I'm sure we all experience
Yeah.
that kind of frustration or of like comparing ourselves to whoever seems to be doing better than us.
Yeah. Growth is not linear. So when you're growing in the moment, it feels like you're failing because you've
Mm,
never been there before, right? It's a
yeah,
lot easier to do something, know the result you're going to get, and that's more comfortable. But when you compare yourself, first of all, you're not seeing the whole picture.
yeah,
And second of all, like, I don't know, I was watching this video the other day and it basically said, like, you know, the man making $50,000 a year, but like is genuinely so happy is winning at life than the one who makes $100 million a year
totally.
and doesn't go to bed feeling happy at night. And I think this year, 2025, has been the year that like I've actually found like real happiness in myself and like in the quiet because I'm always like a happy, like positive person. I would think, "Oh, when I travel, I'm happy." Or like when I'm on vacation, I'm happy. When I hit this milestone, I'm happy, which is true, but I also believe two things can be true. And I feel like this year, I've really like almost like this like psychological subconscious level of happiness and joy, regardless of what's happening outside of me. And I think that's been the best healer to comparison that anything else can be. Because, you know, like even this morning, I'm like watching this video and this woman and I'm like, wow, she's so amazing. And like I'm learning so much from her. And I could take so many nuggets and notes away from this video.
Yeah.
But then when I looked about and I was like, is she really happy? You know? And like just something about it, I was like, something is just not giving joy and happiness. But maybe she is. And like, that's great. You know, I'm not here to judge, but I'm here to say, like, why would I look at this person and think some type of way when I should just be looking at myself and being like,
Mm.
how am I feeling in this moment? And I think that's so important.
Have you ever read the Four Agreements? You know, like one of the agreements is not to make assumptions about
Mhm.
anything. And I feel that on Instagram, we're always making assumptions about everyone's life and everyone's business. So I
Yeah.
love that you pointed this out. And now I want to talk a little bit more about spirituality because, as we said at the beginning, you started more in the spiritual and manifestation niche.
Mhm.
And I would love to know, do you still have or bring any of these practices that you were teaching back then? Do you still have them or bring them to your business on a day to day basis?
Absolutely. So I would say now it's just kind of more fluid into my routine opposed to it being so regimented. Like
Mm,
when I was first starting, it was like anytime I wanted something, I would script it and I would write it and I would like try really hard to get it. versus now it's more just like a constant state of being. And this is something that I'm just very aware of. And this is what I work on mostly. So, like, for example, right now, there was like a season, I would say the past like few months, where I was meditating like every single day religiously because I needed it. And it's like I
Okay.
have these things in my back pocket when I do need them. So I feel like now, like, I'm not in that season, but then there was like a day last week where I was like, whoa, I am not going to go into this day the way that I want to go into this day. So let me pop on a meditation and take 30 minutes out of my deep work session because that's more important. So I feel like now it's a bit more fluid, and some of the tools that I use is
Mm.
meditation, visualization, journaling. A new thing I'm doing is just like ranting voice notes into my phone and like analyzing them after and like reading
Interesting.
them. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So for someone that is just getting started and to like or getting into manifestation, like for you, it's something that you already have kind of like ingrained. And as you said, it's like part of who you are already. For someone who's
Mhm.
just getting started, would you recommend having more like a daily practice or like a ritual until it becomes part of their life?
Absolutely. Yeah, because think about any new thing that you learn, you need reps. So, like,
Mm,
basically, there's 3 phases to learning something new. It's a skill, a habit, and then a lifestyle. So, first, you have to acquire
love
the
that.
skill, and the skill could take you anywhere from 28 days to like 6 months. And then to actually make it a habit, it's like 6 months to 18 months. And then a lifestyle, it's like minimum 3 to 5 years. So,
Right.
like, at this point, right, my journey started in 2019. Now it's been 6 years. So, for me, it's truly a lifestyle, but it's only probably like as of this year, maybe even last year, it truly feels like a part of me.
And you know that this podcast started because I reconnected with God after kind of being like an atheist for a very long time. And then I got into modern spirituality. And last year in Bali, I was led by God and I reconnected with him. I always ask my guests, do you believe in God?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up Roman Catholic and I
Okay.
went to like a Catholic high school. So I was raised like very Catholic. But I feel like as of maybe the last year, I'm learning a lot more about Christianity and just kind of like I know there's a lot of nuance like Christian or Catholics are Christian and
Mm,
all
yeah.
that great stuff. But I think, I'm definitely exploring more of like, okay, am I going to veer more towards Christianity versus just, Catholicism? And, excuse me if I'm misspeaking because it's still something that I'm learning. But I
Mm,
think for me, like, I've always felt this like strong God presence in my life. I've grown up praying. Like, I've always believed in something bigger than myself. And that's what I've called God. And over the past few years, like through my more like modern spiritual journey, that's when I started kind of using the words more interchangeably, like universe or
mm,
source or higher power. So, like, for me, it's kind of more like, yes, like I believe there is a God and there is a God that is like with me in every moment. And I'm also kind of still exploring like what that means for me in my life and like how and maybe it's not even exploring, it's maybe just my relationship with God evolving. And that's okay too.
yeah, it's all about it's a relationship at the end of the day. Like, I became a Christian last year, but for me, Christianity is not really a religion. I'm like, I don't
Mm,
really like religion, but it's just a relationship with a higher
yeah.
power. And it's been a game changer, especially in moments of uncertainty when things don't go as I expected. Like I was telling you
Yeah.
before we started this podcast, like the past couple of months have been hard in a lot of ways. And it got to a point last month where I realized that again, I've been trying just to control every outcome, like
Mm,
how many clients I'm getting, how my business is growing, that I set this really ambitious
mm,
revenue goal at the beginning of the year. And I'm like not even close to hitting it. So I was starting to feel like really, really frustrated. And then it got to a point last month when I was like, you know what? I can't. It's exhausting when you're trying
mm,
to control everything. So I told God, God, I surrender again. I surrender,
mm,
and it gave me so much peace of mind, even though things are still not going as I would like them to go. But I just feel like peace and I feel like I'm flowing and I'm trusting. And, if it doesn't
mm.
happen, then it's going to happen next year. And if it happen next year, it's going to happen the year after. But as long
Yeah.
as you have this like strong faith in something. Do you think that having this belief in a higher power also helps you in moments of uncertainty or pressure?
Definitely. Yeah. Like there's just so much in my life that would not have happened if I didn't have faith. To
Mm,
me, it's everything. And it's just such a foundation of who I am and everything that I do, where it's like it could be even as simple as just like joy and peace and happiness, you know?
mm,
So it's like if you're not happy, like why do it? You know, it's like no amount of money, no success, nothing is worth it if you're not happy. And like I said, like I've always been like a happy person, but I feel like I've found this like new level of like I am happy regardless of what's happening in my external world. And I think that's been like a new level of joy that I've personally experienced. And I think that's through my evolved relationship with God, a higher power,
mm,
something bigger than myself. Because I think honestly, like earlier in my manifestation journey, it was more like self interested. It was more like,
mm.
what can this practice do for me versus like,
Interesting.
what can I do for the world? Like, because
Yeah,
when I'm at peace and I'm at joy, I'm a better being on this planet, you know, and like really thinking of
100%.
it through that lens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very interesting that you mentioned this because as I've said before, like I got into Christianity, and there, of course, there's like a lot of radical Christians and some others that are more open minded. But there's
Hmm.
this radical part of Christianity that see all this modern spirituality that they
Hmm.
call New Age as something demonic
Yeah.
because it's not putting your faith and surrendering your life to a god or to like a higher power, but it's actually self-centered. It's like, okay, I want to
Mm.
manifest this. I want to do this for myself. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. I definitely don't believe that new age or modern spirituality is
Hmm.
demonic. I still love it. I still believe in God and I believe
Yeah.
in Jesus, but I still practice
Yeah.
manifestation techniques and meditation, and I believe in energy and in chakras. And I don't think that
Mm.
one thing, like eliminates the other. But it's interesting that you mentioned that from your own perspective. How do you talk or how do you communicate with God on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think it's different every day. Like, there's definitely some more like intentional sessions where it's like I'm sitting and I'm journaling, something that I love to do that I haven't done in a while, but now it's like bringing the memories back that I should. I'll just basically ask God to like write through me and I'll put like my pen to
Mm,
paper and I'll be like, God, like just tell me, what you're trying to say and just allow it to like go through me. So I think that's really fun because that's like a full surrender of like, this is
yeah,
no longer me. So that, and then I would also say, like, yeah, just like in prayer. And I think prayer can even be as simple as just like the thoughts that you have inside your head. Like this has been a
100%.
big thing for me. It's like I didn't realize like how much self-sabotage would go through my head on a daily basis versus now it's like I got to like keep this shit clear. Like I got to keep this good, you know? Like I got to keep this positive and strong and it's like you're
Mm,
allowed to like feel like shit and have bad days and like say bad things, but you got to catch it and like
yeah.
really like remind yourself who's in control and it's you, right? And it's like use that as an opportunity to surrender, speak to God, ask for help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, you mentioned that you are a very logical person, and that has really helped you grow your business. You're a numbers person,
Mhm.
logical person, but do you ever let your intuition lead you in your business when it comes to making some decisions or in terms of like the way that you've grown your company, or it's been more like your logical mind?
I'm so intuitive. I'm so in sync with my intuition. And it's something that I'm realizing is like such a superpower. Like,
Totally.
it's so crazy because as logical as I am, if I feel like convicted in something, I just know that's the path and like nothing can stop me. So like for example, when I had this, 300K month last month, revenue month, so like I basically changed like it was because we did this webinar. I changed something like 2 days before and I just knew that I had to change it and there was no evidence this was gonna work. I was like, felt in that moment like I'm flying blind, but I just know it's right. And it worked. And like it was one of our
Mm,
highest converted webinars we'd ever had. So like that would be an example of like we did all the planning and all the things and we were all on deadline. And there was just something that I'm like, I got to change the whole thing. And I just told the
Mm,
team, I'm like, no questions asked. This is what we're doing. Like, talk to me after the webinar if you're confused. I could help you figure out anything you need to help out, but don't ask me why. I will tell you after. You got to just
mm.
trust me. And it worked in everybody's favor. So I would say, like, that's kind of more of an example of how I balance the two.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, as I'm still like a one person business, well, I have an assistant, but I don't have to like tell my team if I changed my mind about something, but I'm always changing my mind. And it's not because like I have shiny object syndrome, but it's because I have these like feelings inside of
Yeah.
my gut that that's what I have to do. Right.
Yeah.
So for example, that I have my free course and my free course is on a specific
Yeah.
topic. Like this week I was like, that's not the topic it should be about. So I'm just like
Yeah.
changing it all right now because I know, and I know that it's because it's going to be better. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I call that my
Love that.
intuition as well.
Yeah.
And luckily, I don't have to tell. I mean, I don't have to
Yeah.
give explanations to anyone yet. Soon though. But I love that you mentioned that. I want to talk to you a little bit about the creator economy and also conscious growth because well,
Cool.
you help creators build successful, profitable businesses. What is the one thing you wish that more creators knew about scaling?
It's all about conversion.
Hmm. Totally. Totally. And numbers games. I always remember when you say this, it's a numbers game. It's like dating, right?
Yeah, it's all about conversion and numbers because if you don't start looking at your business from like a data-driven perspective, you're going to just keep thinking everything's broken, everything's wrong. And what does that mean? Like those things are subjective, right? What does it mean
Mm,
that it's not performing? Like, did you make sales? Did you grow followers? That's also why, like we were talking earlier, what's your goal? Because if your goal is to get to 1 million followers, you might have a different or a slower pathway to hitting your business goals. But like for
yeah.
me, I want to get to 1 million followers, sure, like who wouldn't? But I'm not like driving the content strategy with that in mind. That's like a byproduct. So to me, I would rather wait to get to 1 million followers and grow my business to $100 million first. But I'm very clear on my goal. And I think that's what's so important because how can you measure anything if you don't know where you're
Mm,
headed?
totally. Totally. And I think that's where most creators, especially creative people, struggle with, right? With the numbers, with like the data.
Mhm.
To be honest, I'm not the best at data and it's something that I definitely need to work on. So thanks for reminding me. Andrea keeps telling me like
Yeah.
KPIs, KPIs. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, but it's like
And you know what's so interesting about what you say that? Like, I used to be like, I've used this word before, now I'm using it again, but almost like ashamed that I was like this. Cause I was like, most creative people are not, right?
mm,
Like, most creative people are just like, I wanna go with what feels good and like, fuck the DM tracker. I don't wanna track my DMs? Like, and we laugh because listen, it's not just you, Juan, it's the whole client base? But the reason why I say that is because this is where I realize my strength is. And I think this
mm,
is what makes creators so unique is when they basically blend two foreign things together. So like for me, blending my like intuition and creativity and like I think what people really see of me on the outside and like how my brain works, like extremely logical, mathematical. If it doesn't make sense, like you need to have a really good case to back it up because I don't get it, you
mm,
know? And the way that I've blended those two things, and people have described it in me, like our students have been like, it's blending the masculine and the feminine. And for a while, I
totally.
was like ashamed of that. And I was like, I should
Mm,
be this like girly, girly and like not track my shit and like blah, blah, blah. But then I realized that so many creators were craving this. They're like, we had our sales coach, Chloe. She first started working with us. She closed about a $500,000 in sales for us. And then she became our sales coach and then she grew her own business. She's now making 50K months in her own business and she's still doing, part-time coaching with us. But when I did a interview or like a case study with her, she was like, I could not believe what I saw behind the scenes in your business of how like legitimate of a business it was. And that was like a big breakthrough for me where I was like, wait, I love this stuff. I'm really good at it. And that's actually what I want to help people do is create like really simple systems that can grow their business in a measurable way. Because when we start getting emotional about business, it's very draining. Like
my God,
sales,
tell me about it,
conversions,
please.
yes, content. So it's like, I want everyone to be emotional about emotional things, family, loved ones, relationships, what you want to create, the types of content. Absolutely. But we can't let emotions bleed into logical situations because that's when you are on a hamster wheel in your business.
And what would you tell someone who's struggling to get their emotions out of their business?
Mm, yeah. You have to really like know how your business works. So like your business is like a living, breathing thing. And I
Mm.
I only learned this like a year ago through a lot of trial and error. Like I didn't read this in some book. Like no, I learned this. But a lot of people are just like, this is my passive income, money generating
Mm,
machine. Look the other way so I could be on the beach in Bali and blah, 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 blah.
mm.
But what starts to
Yeah, yeah.
happen is that you realize that you can't actually make passive income until you master active income. So
Totally.
what starts to happen is that you start neglecting your business and then you wonder why it's not working. So what I would tell someone is I would like literally get to know your business as a living, breathing thing. Where do your clients come from? What do people say you're the best at? Which clients got the best results? And actually build an operating system. And like, it sounds fancy, it's not. Understand like the four parts of your business: marketing, conversions, sales, and customer success, right? We call it cash: content, audience, sales, high class experience. So, like the four most important things of your business. How does this work? That's all I want you to
Mm,
do. And then actually list out the systems or the processes that you take to get to the results that you want. And then let's actually build an operating system that fuels you and doesn't drain you. And that's going to be the thing you pour into every single day. Like, I don't have a passive relationship, right? I have to pour into my relationship every day. Just because I got engaged, I'm getting married, doesn't mean I just neglect my relationship. It's something I've committed to for the rest of my life. So, like, that's the same thing with your business. Even if it gets self sufficient, you still need to give it maintenance every day, every week,
mm.
whatever it is.
I love that you mentioned this, and I love that you brought the topic of passive income because I've tried it and it's not as passive as people think. And
Yeah.
to be honest, now that I've done like both like digital products and low ticket and high ticket, like it's much more fulfilling when you make a high ticket sale. And even though it does
Hmm.
require more effort and you have to put in more time and energy, it will give the person a better transformation, and it's also more fulfilling for you as a person. And also
Yeah.
if you're like living your purpose in life, then it's like you're serving them in a much deeper, meaningful way.
Yeah.
So I have a new section in the podcast.
Okay.
It's called rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a
Let's
few
do it.
questions really fast and then we'll wrap it up. So one belief that you've had to unlearn in your entrepreneurial journey.
One belief I had to unlearn: what got you here won't get you there.
But you hear it, that won't get you there. I love that. So true. So true. One practice you can't live without.
Journaling,
A book or a podcast that changed your life.
the secret.
And what does being an awakened entrepreneur mean to you?
Being so confident in the decisions that you make because you know you made the best decision with the information you had in that moment.
Love it. Very logical as well. I can see your mind at work. Julia, thank you so much for your time today. This conversation was amazing. I'm so sure that people are going to get so much value from this. Before we go, where can people find you?
Instagram at I am Giulia Guerrieri. I'm sure you'll link it,
I
all
will.
the spelling, but European people will pick it up better than Americans because Americans just don't know how to spell my name. But that's okay because I'm American, so I could say that. But there, and then our business is Creator to Cash Flow. So just creatortocashflow.com.
Okay. And do you have any free resource that you'd like to share with the listeners or viewers?
Absolutely. So if you go to creatortocashflow.com, you can see our free course. And I would say that would be our best resource.
Okay, I will link everything in the show notes and the description of the video. And again, thank you so much. Thank you guys for staying until the end. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, 5-star if you think it's worth of a 5-star review, because it will really help me push this podcast and spread this message to new people. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like it, leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.